It's the savvy side of 9 to 5. Listen.
Bueller.
Laugh. And learn.
Negotiation. This is what you do in business.
This is the Focus Group with Tim Bennett.
Staunch.
And John Nash.
Keep your clothes looking neat and clean.
We're all business. Except when we're not.
Whoa, let's slow it down. Welcome to the Focus Group. John Nash here with my good friend and co-host, Mr. Tim Bennett, wearing his approved color.
It's a Mark Pipkin, Paul and Mass approved blue.
This color is an approved blue. Hey, focusgroupradio.com is where you should go to check out all the information about our site. That's where our video feed is. Our audio feed is there as well. And we want to thank everybody for downloading and listening to Unbuttoned, which is our midweek podcast, about 20 minutes long. I would say that's a little more political and a little more newsy. Versus us being businessy and career and a little nonsense
stage
in between. So end of May, on the cusp of Pride, we decided to have today join us Mr. Paul Hagen. If you remember Paul from our other platform, he is going to be coming loaded down with probably more information than we'll ever get to for books, movies, and writing and everything to do for the next couple months.
I was reading everything he did, and I purposely sent him an email that said, you don't have to prepare as much as you usually do, which he did because he actually prepared enough. We probably could have done a 2-hour show just with Paul.
2 shows.
Yeah, so he'll be fun to have in with us.
So Happy Pride is almost Happy Pride. It's like a whisper. Happy Pride. It's almost here. We can't do it yet, but when June hits, there we go.
It's a Pride Leprechaun. I would like you to record, or we'll have to tape that so that we can just the boys in the booth.
I want to
Jared and John can just hit Happy Pride.
Happy Pride. I want a sponsor to have me to pay for a Happy Pride Leprechaun costume. There should be a costume. I don't know.
Happy Pride?
I don't know. I'd wear it. You know, I don't know.
Little green top hat with a rainbow coming out of its ass or head or something.
Rainbow coming out of his ass. And a unicorn, just for good measure, right?
A triangle.
All right, before we get going, I got to tell you something. You were asking about this. This was the weekend of weekends. Memorial Day was the tag sale weekend. So,
where'd you? Upstate.
Upstate. So we moved to a new apartment a while ago, and Bob has been collecting things and planning for this big tag sale. And he was so organized. Everything was labeled. All the advice you gave him, that Matt gave him, everything was great. There's a fire drill going on outside the studio in case you hear anything. Or maybe
there's the booth just left us.
Maybe there's a real fire. We have to get out.
As we're laughing.
So, okay, let's put a pillow over it. So anyway, he does everything. He does all the pre-pricing. The night before, he set up our patio and our screened-in porch, and he had collections of things.
So what kind of stuff are you selling?
Old stereo, some antique clocks, some clothing, books, DVDs.
You mean an old stereo, like a
receiver,
player?
like an old receiver and speakers. And then the night before, we'd got in the car and we went to each end of the road and we had to put up these handmade signs he did. And they were really nice signs. It was like tag sale, our address.
Staple them to the telephone poles.
We put them up in there, and then... And the morning of, he went out to the front and he put this handmade thing. It looked like an enlarged version of a tag with a string hanging off of it. It was all very craft, very nice.
Did you get a picture?
I should have taken pictures. That would have been, why did I think of this? So I'm not really involved in the sale.
No.
I was upstairs doing work, but I had a view of our neighbor across the street. So cars start pulling in around. Some guy showed up at 6:45.
Yeah, they show up because they think they're going to get a deal.
Well, this guy came back at like 9:10, and he scooped up a whole bunch of stuff. It was one of the better sales, and he owns an antique store, so he picked up a lot of stuff. So the sale's going on, and people are pulling up, and I look across the street, and I watch our neighbor, and they have a brand new 2-car garage they built, which is filled with shit, by the way, like just junk. And the cars don't go in there. It's all boxes. She opens up both doors and starts dragging out plastic bins. And there's 3 tables that get set up. I'm like, I wonder what's going on.
She's going to set up her own sale?
So I look away, and I was working on an audio clip for a new animation piece I'm doing. In fact, it was something you suggested over a year ago. I don't try anything, I just do it. So I'm putting this audio thing together. And I keep looking over, and now I see her walking down to the front of her yard with one of those orange mallets, those rubber mallets, and I couldn't tell what was in her hand. But then I look, and she puts a thing down, thwack. thwack, it goes into the grass, and it's just one of those printed, ugly, pre-made Walmart, hardware store signs, garage sale, and like in Sharpie, today. I was like, what the hell is she? I immediately went downstairs. I said, Bob, we got a problem. I said, across the street, she's doing a garage sale. And Bob goes, well, in typical Bob fashion, in a good way, he goes, that's not bad. More people will come. Right. They'll park. They'll go back across the street. The sale goes on. We roll on. Finally, around 1 o'clock, 1:30, it winds down. She's still going to the end of the day. Here's the thing.
Anybody going over there for her?
Yes, she sold a few things. I saw people leave with some old pots and pans, a piece of luggage with a broken wheel. Why would you? This thing was rolling down the driveway, making that sound because one wheel was broken. I'm like, you'd buy this at a tax sale? So I said, Bob, how do we do? He goes, I don't understand the county. He said, I don't understand this. He said, all the stuff that should have been sucked up in like 10 minutes is all still here, and other things that should have never have sold. And he said, here's an example of what we're dealing with. So he had 2 step ladders set up with a bar, like a plastic bar, and he hung stuff on it. People were asking if the step ladders were sale, not the clothing. So that's how the tag sale went down.
So did he do well? He should have done
He did okay.
So Matt was going to, Matt. Mm-hmm. So Matt was going to, he's asked us for a number of years, and maybe I should have him on. He was going to come on and give us a schooling on how to set up a tag sale and how to make money. He does really well. He does them at my house, but I'm with you. When I find out it's going on, I take off. Yeah. And I leave or I become invisible. He loves it. He thrives on it. He'll do a couple $1,000 in a few hours, and but he knows what he's doing, knows what kind of stuff to do, and knows the neighborhood and can figure it out. But it reminds me of a friend of mine tried to do one in Jersey. He was trying to sell all this designer Versace clothing and everything that he bought for bought a shirt for $1,300, then put $300 on it. He said, "Don't waste your time trying to sell any clothes of value." I said, "Nobody's going to a tag sale spend $300 on an old Versace shirt." But I think they're fun to go to sometimes, but I don't ever want to run them.
It was a very, and it was just a real eye-opener because I agree with Bob. Like the way he had it set up, he had beautiful stuff. And if this happened in Westchester or maybe your neighborhood or a different neighborhood, it would have been the line at the door because people know what's going on, right?
So what's he doing with the stuff he didn't sell?
The stuff that was not sold had already been predetermined to be donated to a variety of places. So any books and DVDs that we didn't get rid of are going to the town library. They either sell them later at a sale or they put them in the collection. I have a lot of art books that I had in the sale that were really nice. I mean, they're not garbage. And
nobody wanted a history of Palm Springs.
Well, more specifically, no one wanted a great book by Jonathan Rinsler on the making of Star Wars.
No.
It was this thick. I mean, okay, they made it, and it's a good movie, but...
Was that the one when you had that guy on from...
That sold. You remember that?
That was expensive. That book was like $100
Star Wars
book.
Blueprints. It was enormous.
Yeah.
And they brought
sold that?
They brought in a big brochure for the book and printed samples that they had signed. That sold to the guy from the antique store. I was shocked. Bob said that Star Wars thing you had from your old days on the radio, that sold.
Do you remember what it sold for?
No, he had put like, $5, $10.
That was like $100 item. That's what I was saying to you.
The book was. I didn't get the book.
Every time I see stuff at a tag sale go out, the lamp or something that I know I spent X amount for it, and it goes down the driveway for $3. I might as well just take money and throw it. I might as well go to the strip club and just throw money out.
Tim just sent a note in the middle of the tag sale. You sent me a text. I'm working away on this audio clip, and this thing pops up on my computer. It says, all I see at a tag sale is loss.
Lost money.
Lost money. Because it's what you paid and what you're never going to get back for it.
Yeah, well. That's the way that operates, I suppose. I was down in Rehoboth, which was fun. We had a
great story.
Well, friends of ours. Well, we won't tell that one, but friends of ours had a wine dinner. Mark and Carl, who you went to the wine dinner with, and they decided when you and Bob were down visiting, we all went to a wine dinner, and it was a lot of money. So we said to ourselves, why don't, instead of us spending all that money, somebody hosted each month, and everyone just bring a nice bottle of wine.
Well, the wine dinner you took us to had the set goal was for them to sell wine.
And it was also raising money for hurricane relief in Puerto Rico. So it was a kind of feel-good thing. But otherwise, at $100 a person, and you try a bunch of wines and so forth. But so they hosted a very nice dinner, and it was Mark and Carl, Richard, and some other folks, and we had a fun time. And then it was just typical of these beach towns now. what a difference a couple weeks makes. I mean, all of a sudden
Packed,
it
right?
went from nothing to
Something.
full throttle. But so look forward to summer, see what happens.
The other thing we got done, and this was a recurring problem since January. Remember, sorry to bore everybody, but remember I told you back in January our dishwasher just died one day,
Right.
just stopped. Then I shut the breaker off, came back a week later, shut the breaker on, it started again. And it ran for weeks and weeks, and it died again. Now, after a while, I'm suspicious. I'm thinking, is it the electronics? Is it the boards? Because they're also electronic. And back when that dishwasher replaced one that was 17 years old and actually still working when we had it replaced. So I don't know why I bothered. But so then about 4 weeks ago, the disposal. Now, I call it an incinerator.
It's garbage disposal.
Garbage disposal. But that's the name. That's the brand name, right? Incinerator. It's on the... That stops working. Dishwasher and that. I'm like, okay, this is super suspicious. So my neighbor Todd, who's now retired, he used to work for he drives heavy equipment, comes over. I love Todd. He gets down, he starts poking around, looking at the wiring under the sink. He undoes this switch for the incinerator, the disposal, and he says, this is janky. You need to get this. I don't like this wiring. I don't like how this is grounded. Something's wrong here. He gives me a name of an electrician named Kevin. Kevin calls. I call him. We do exchange calls. I said, "Don't worry. It's a disposal and a dishwasher. I can wash dishes. It will get fixed." Calls on Saturday because it was a crap day. You had gray weather as well. Or Sunday. It was Sunday. I'm sorry. He calls on Sunday. Hey, I'm in the area. I'm like 10 minutes away. Want to have a look at this? He comes over, puzzles it up out for a minute, and then he gets under and he opens the front panel of the dishwasher, touches something, says, "Go down and turn off the breaker." And then he unscrews one of those little caps that goes on the wire, and he hands it to me, and the thing is like red hot, and it's melted.
Oh, my God.
And he said, there's arcing. And I said, what is arcing? He said, the wires weren't exactly touching, but they were close enough to transfer power, but they eventually separated far enough that more and more power is going through, and nothing's happening, and it's melting. And he said, if this had sat there for a little while longer, I was like, goodbye house, right?
Well, if your insurance was paid.
You know what it made me think of, though? And I think you said this once before as well. I would love to know how to do electrical stuff. Have you talked to an electrician?
I've thought about that, and I've thought about plumbing. I thought of taking one of those
Would you do it?
I guess it's an evening class, or
Yeah.
6 months or whatever. But I would like to know how to do it. I'm always... Brian from AdMark 360 Matt, they're very handy switches.
They know how to
dimmer
do
switch,
things,
put lights on, ceiling fans up. I'm sure it's not tough. Do you boys know how to do any of that?
I wish our light in the closet's out.
I wish.
Are you handy?
A little bit here and there. My dad's an electrician, so I've picked up some things.
So
I
there
can
you go.
change brakes and this and that, and put
Yeah.
a light bulb, a circuit, maybe a plug, an outlet.
I'm almost afraid of electricity, but the electrician's like, no, here's how it works.
Shut it off.
There's a feed. He goes, I like to tell clients that's what the power company sends in. And there's a wire that takes it back to the company. He said, which sounds not right, but that's alternating current. So he said, there's a ground, and you have to have a loop.
Yeah.
It has to be a closed loop or something. So anyway, halfway through his little repair thing, he's a super cool guy. I said, I hope you don't mind me playing Johnny Neutron asking all these questions about electricity. He goes, no. He goes, I have no problem at all. He goes, I wish people asked more because... he goes, you did troubleshoot this down to the right level. He said, but you would never have figured this out unless you took this apart. So,
Nor know how to fix it. I mean, that's the thing.
oh, he did a great. And by the way, when he put it all back together, pro. And I'm like, I breathed a sigh of relief because now I don't have to spend $500 on a dishwasher and $200 on an incinerator. Exactly.
All that stuff.
All right. So, what caught your eye?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
At first, I thought this was one of those Russian clickbait things, but I checked it out, and it seems to be legitimate, John. Headline is, after spending 23 years in the closet, this married man found happiness working as a gay escort. Now, there he is. Apparently, he's not too busy. But there he is if you're watching.
At a nudist colony?
Well,
Yeah.
he goes by the name Sleazy Mike. He's 59 years old. He's from Cambridge, England. He appeared in a recent episode of it. They were doing an expose called The Sex Business in the UK. So he was a happily married man before he became a sex worker 13 years ago. They said he lived a very nice middle-class lifestyle until his wife discovered pictures of him engaging in gay sex acts on the family computer.
Does no one know passwords or different users or I mean, does no one do this?
So she ended up chasing him around the kitchen with a knife.
Oh.
Like a night at the Nash Barnes house. So he said, so obviously they divorced. He said, for 23 years, it was like a time bomb for me. I was ready to go off. I had to repress my desire to have sex with guys. After I was kicked out of the house, I was free to explore my sexuality openly. And that's when I discovered escorting, he says.
Escorting. And so he went from repressed house husband
living a very middle-class life
escorting.
With children, right.
That's a pretty big leap.
Well,
I'm just saying.
He says it happened, it was all very organic because he has a very high sex drive, and he likes to have sex, so he figured he might as well get paid for it. He said if he hadn't been in the closet all these years, though, he doesn't think he would have become an escort. My question was why? If you were in the closet that long, I don't understand why he decided that if he hadn't been in the closet, he wouldn't have been. But
could it be that he now has the capability of having sex with anyone? Meaning his drive is so high, he's been repressed so long that now it doesn't matter who the client is, he'll just have sex with them, even though if he had been gay all his life, he might have actually had a filter. Well,
he says he quit his job at the railway company and started selling his body. He makes £100 an hour. Says he feels totally fulfilled. I don't know how. He says he likes being his own boss, especially when I do things and I see their eyes light up. Now, £100 an hour, he says he usually has 2 clients a week. Of those clients, he estimates 80% are married men, heterosexual married men. 99% are fantastic and respectful, and we're both getting something from each other. So I laughed about that because I thought, if he's only doing a couple clients a week at £100, that was at $150?
Yeah.
Not paying the bills.
Well, you said he's 59.
Yeah.
He was a railroad worker.
Yeah.
So he might have some kind of a pension.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
And he might only this is pin money, right?
Well, he says the other thing he really thinks he's doing a service to the community. He says he thinks he saved a lot of marriages because if they didn't go to a male escort, they might go out and have an affair. And this way you just pay and it's done and it's over and you move on. So he thinks he's saving marriages. He says that
doing God's work.
Yes, he says he has some virgins and it's amazing because they'll never forget their experience. He says he's very gentle. That's no fun. He says he's aware of the stigma, but he thinks he's going to do it into his 80s. Okay. So, John, there's hope for us. He said it's the best job he ever had. So if things here in the focus group go south, there's an opportunity for us to have another career, I suppose. He's going to do it into his 80s. The way that picture looked, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, I'm going to be mean by saying this, but I'm not sure you'd have to pay for that. Are you?
I wonder what the profile pic looks like.
You know, if you pay, you want Brad Pitt or, I don't know, Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Then again, given his age, he is filling a vertical niche that may not be filled. Meaning there's not a lot of guys that age that may be doing that, and you might be more comfortable with,
Well, I want to see about 30 more or 20 more years when he says he's an 80-year-old escort. That one shocked me.
Oof.
80?
Ding dong.
Hello.
Avon calling.
I mean, with teeth or no teeth?
In or out? Meaning, yeah. The set comes in. The set. You want to be gummed or not?
What caught your eye?
Oh boy. Okay. So quickie. Starting the beginning of June, Adidas is celebrating LGBT Pride Month with a 4-shoe collection, and it's called the Pride Pack. I looked at the pictures. Okay, so it's consisting of the Pure Boost DPR, the I-5932, the Campus, and the D-Rupt. Each shoe in the pack utilizes bright and bold colors. They're not that bright. Combined with pastel tones, they're far more pastel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For a unique way to showcase the wearer's individuality. Each shoe also features rainbow branding and a Love Unites logo on the insole to complete their look. All 4 of these loud, proud, this is the PR release, loud, proud, brightly colored kicks will be available on Adidas.com the very first day of Pride Month. Happy Pride, it's gay Christmas. Well, it's in there. There's the blue. It's all very softly done, and especially the one on the right, which is like a whole...
They look like bad orthopedic shoes. I think they're ugly.
They look like bad. I'm not buying personally.
Aren't they hideous?
They're not that bad. I just don't...
You would not wear them.
No, I wouldn't, no.
So that's... So many more things you could do with a Pride sneaker.
Yeah, a ton more.
That's
but
not it.
But they kept this super... almost on the DL, like barely Pride. It's a whisper. It's a whisper sneaker. A whisper of pride with a pastel color. My next one is a little political here. It's a vulnerable Republican thinks that homeowners should be able to discriminate against LGBTQ people. So if you're watching, we have a picture of Dana Rohrabacher. A Republican from California is in one of the tightest races of his career. He lost the support of realtors in his district after he told members of the Orange County Association of Realtors that homeowners should have the right to refuse to sell to LGBTQ buyers. Quote, every homeowner should be able to make a decision not to sell their home to everyone they don't agree with their lifestyle, Rohrabacher said. He then doubled down when questioned about it and said, we've drawn a line on racism, but I don't think we should extend that line. So there are laws about selling you can't deny someone a home based on race or whatever, but this is not something that the LGBT community has protections against. A homeowner should not be required to be in business with someone they think is doing something that is immoral. So another article took this a step further that I found, and I love this, and this snarky ironically, this author says, this makes a lot of sense. It is totally realistic and reasonable for a fundamentalist Christian homeowner to demand to know that the people he sells his home to will never get divorced or have adulterous relations or engage in a sex act that violates his conception of a moral lifestyle. If a Christian cannot be certain that the only kind of sex happening in his old house is missionary-style heterosexual intercourse between married people who are trying to have a child, then can we really say that freedom of religion is alive and well in the United States? In other words, how the hell do you know? And how do you judge this, right?
It's absurd.
California is one of 20 states, including the District of Columbia, that bans state-level housing discrimination, but the rest of them don't have this, and it happens all the time, apparently. So in light of that, the National
There it is.
the National Association of Realtors has withdrawn its endorsement of Rohrabacher. He's not got their Dana Rohrabacher or whatever, Rohrabacher. Yeah, I know. That's why it caught my eye, because I'm like, I didn't really realize that you could be discriminated against in this fashion. That the seller of a home might say, "Well, what are you doing in that? What are you going to do in our old master bedroom, and it's your master bedroom? Why would you care? You're selling the house."
And I don't know why everybody immediately goes right to sex, as if that's the only thing that gays and lesbians do is have sex. Don't do anything else. Just
that's why I love that snarky thing about, well, how can you guarantee that the next couple that's buying it is not going to have a divorce or have an affair or
gangbangs?
Yeah, exactly. If they're not having missionary sex. Yeah, enough said on that one, right? All right, so that's what caught our eye.
Business birthday.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
So these are two quick ones, John. This is both business birthdays. Both gentlemen were born today, May 30th. They're both food birthdays.
Food,
restaurant, entrepreneur birthdays. First one is James Whitman Jim McAlore. Born May 30th, 1926. He died August 9th, 1996 at 70. He and David Edgerton founded the Burger King Corporation. Back in 1954, they opened up a franchise, Edgerton did first, called Insta Burger King. And then they met each other 3 months later, and they decided to take it as a franchise and drop the Insta and started Burger King. And I've never liked the fake charcoal taste of Burger King. Are you a Burger King fan?
No. And in you and I, when we were growing up, I think the pecking order was McDonald's, Wendy's, possibly. Burger King was not ever on our radar.
They've never gained traction. They've actually said in the last 50 years it's been sold, the Burger King chains have been sold 4 times. They sold it first, and to Pillsbury in 1967. I couldn't find out how much it was for. There was a bunch of discrepancy in the numbers. But currently it's owned by the same group. There's a group of investors, Berkshire Hathaway and 3G out of Brazil. And they're based in Canada, and they're teamed with the Tim Hortons group. So it's Restaurant Brands International. And they say the franchises are worth about $3.3 billion now.
Wow.
But it's they never seem to gain traction, I thought, versus a McDonald's.
Bob Evans?
The second birthday, born May 30th, 1918, he died in 07 at 89, is Robert Louis Bob Evans.
Oh, that's what I was looking at. Okay.
An American restaurateur and marketer of pork sausage products. He also founded the restaurant chain bearing his name. So he started making sausage at a farm in southeastern Ohio, where I went to school. Marietta. I went to school with a couple of the Evans kids. And he had a little store there, 12-seat diner in Gallipolis. You'd say it Gallipoli. but in Gallipolis, Ohio. And
Okay.
so he couldn't find a good source for sausage, so he decided to make his own. But then none of the restaurants or anybody in the area would buy a sausage, so he said, I'm going to make my own restaurants then. So I always am impressed by people
when people do this. Yeah.
who do this. So he designed the restaurants in 1962 in a red, white, and blue color steamboat Victorian style, because a lot of the steamboats that go up and down the Ohio River. It was funny, though. He took the advice of his father when he started opening the slaughterhouses for hogs to get the sausage. He had built open ends at both ends of the slaughterhouses. In case the sausage business didn't work, he could use them as machinery sheds.
That's planning ahead.
So they planned ahead.
That's a business.
So he died in 2007. They said the great thing about him, though, is he was a huge supporter of environmental grazing techniques, gave an awful lot of money locally and nationally to education and health-related organizations. So Bob Evans, he's now...
And the founder of Burger King.
And the founder of Burger King. So
Meat.
happy
Meat.
birthdays. Meat.
Those are meat birthdays. All right, as many of you know, Deep Discount is a partner of ours here on the Focus Group. We love working with them. And guess what, folks? In a matter of, 2 days, I think it's a mere 48 hours, the site-wide sale, which is kind of like Deep Discount Christmas, because everything is deeply discounted there in June. So it's a site-wide sale. It's a big blowout. Recommendation would be to, think of what you're going to get and then click the buy button on Friday, because the price might go down. I mean, that could happen, right?
Put it in your
basket and get ready to buy. So it's the site-wide sale. We love this. It's one of our favorite times of the year because we get to go crazy going across the site. So we just picked 2 quick movies to kick off your site. And again, site-wide sale starts June 1st to kick off the buying spree. I always recommend this to anybody who cares to listen because I think it's one of the cutest movies. I love it. It's 1993's Strictly Ballroom. It's available at Deep Discount on Blu-ray, and the Blu-ray looks fantastic. So the story, it's like, a ballroom dancer pairs up with a girl, a woman in the school that he dances at, who's not so good, but she becomes really good, and then they go to compete at the world competition, but he has all these weird dance steps. Anyway, it's an adorable movie. And it's Baz Luhrmann. It's one of his first films. So if you're a big Moulin Rouge fan, you got to watch Strictly Ballroom.
Mine is obviously very different. Mine was the director's Rob Reiner, stars John Cusack and Anthony Edwards, and it's called The Sure Thing. It came out in 1985. I think because I've had so many interesting and weird road trips back and forth from Ohio to Connecticut during college, this is essentially a kid who's in college back east, and his buddies in California are telling him, I've got this babe, she's ready to go, she's hot, she wants to meet you. And so he's trying to get from back east out to California to meet this sure thing.
Yeah.
And he ends up hitching a ride with 2 kind of crazy hippie undergrads in an old Volvo and this other girl that he didn't really like, but they go on their road trip, and of course, we all know what's going to happen. There's going to be more chemistry, obviously, with the girl he didn't like probably along the way. But I love these sort of movies. For me, they're just kind of bring back
I
lots of
saw when you
nostalgia.
picked this, I just smiled because I remember the movie. And it's a total, in my opinion, it's a total summer film.
It's not John Hughes, but it's John Hughes-esque.
Esque is perfect. So. All right, so the release this week, by the way, is a movie called Cold Turkey, and it comes to us from Olive Films. They're the distributor, and Deep Discount has arranged to give away copies to you folks of Cold Turkey. It's a movie that stars Dick Van Dyke. So here's the setup. I think it's perfect for me and Tim, too. A major tobacco company thought it would be neat and keen to offer a $25 million prize to any American community that could stop smoking for 30 days. Dick Van Dyke plays Reverend Clayton Brooks, a minister in the town of Eagle Rock, Iowa, who convinces the town to take up the challenge. And as they get closer and closer to completing the 30 days, the tobacco company realizes, wait a minute, we're going to have to write a check for $25 million, and they try to sabotage it, right?
I got to get him to smoke.
Don't they accuse Dick Van Dyke of, he's a reverend?
He's a reverend, but in order for him not to smoke, he just seems to have an awful lot of libido gets I guess for lack of a better word, gets revved up.
All right, so here's how we're going to do this. We're going to give away to our Facebook Live and YouTube listeners a DVD or a Blu-ray copy of Cold Turkey in the next few days. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you're going to get different clues. So you have a chance to win as well there. And then down the line, we may be doing it again for our Unbuttoned podcast as well. So here's how it's going to work. Just remember this, letters at focusgroupradio.com, letters at focusgroupradio.com, or if you want an easy reminder, just send the letters FG to the number 25827, and it sends you back a link to letters at focusgroupradio.com. And all you have to do is this. Garrett's going to play 2 audio clues. If you get both movies correct, you're going to be entered in, did we say it was like the first 10 to get the two right, and then we'll randomly pick the winner from there, or 2 winners actually.
We're going to give away a total of 6.
6 of these discs, yeah. So again, it's letters at focusgroupradio.com. You have to get both movies right. We didn't make it too hard. Tim picked these particular clues for today from the ones that I brought in. And I must say you did a good job of pairing the clues. I always approve of that. Or alternately, send the letters FG to the number 25827. It will send you back a link directly to our email. That's all it does. It's a great little system there. So we're all ready. Garrett's going to play the 2 audio clues that will, if you get them, you'll get cold turkey.
Husbands die every day. Sometimes they're driving home from their mistress's apartment, and their brakes suddenly fail. An accident can be an unhappy woman's best friend.
What? What? I fed the cats!
There you go, folks. Now, should we do that again, or
The people can rewind.
They can rewind. Okay, yeah.
But I had a couple fun facts about the movie Cold Turkey. Do you want to hear one of them?
Yes, indeed.
Do you know it was the very first time flatulence was depicted in a U.S. movie?
Oh, by the way, we should mention it's Norman Lear, right?
Norman Lear. So Edward Everett Horton, the veteran actor, was in there. He said his career began in 1906. He plays the tobacco company president, and he has no dialogue. He's in a wheelchair, and they said he's shown in the limousine, and all he does is fart. And they said that was the very first time they think flatulence was featured in a U.S. movie.
And it's a non-speaking role.
Non-speaking role.
Well, kind of, yeah.
And it was his final role. What a way to go. They said also director Norman Lear had a 3-second cameo. About 2/3 of the way in the movie, you'll see him when he's sitting amongst the townspeople in one of the group scenes. And then Maureen McCormick, Marcia Brady.
She's in there?
She provides the voice of the talking doll in the film, which says, "I love you, smoking causes cancer." And then there's a bunch of other little cameos in there, but I thought those were some sort of fun. I always love when they put those little hidden eggs in commercials or films.
I love that.
TV. So, as I'll let John explain it again, but
just if you know the names of the 2 movies those clues came from that Garrett played earlier, and if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, just rewind a little bit and get the clues. Send them to letters at focusgroupradio.com. If you're on a mobile device and you don't want to remember that, send the letters FG for Focus Group to the number 25827. The text system will send you back the direct link to that same email address. And we're going to pick the first 10 entries that get both movies right, and then we'll pool our 2 winners from there. And we're switching it up for the audio podcast release, so you get another chance to win.
There you go. Right, Garrett?
Thanks, Deep Discount.
So we're going to take a quick break, and then everybody hold on to your seats or your pants or your skirts or whatever. But we've got Paul Hagen joining us to share some ideas for some summer fun. So stay with us.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Try, really try.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
I never try anything. I just do it.
Hey, welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with my good friend and co-host Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com is where you need to go to find out all about the show, audio and video feeds. When you're there, go to the right side and also scroll down and look for the Deep Discount logo and start shopping there as well. And remember to join the Cold Turkey giveaway. Just rewind and you'll get to that part of the show. That's the beauty of media that allows us to go back
on demand.
On demand, yeah, as you choose. Sitting right next to me, and if you're listening on the audio podcast, sitting right next to me is the one and only Paul Hagen, a big member of the Focus Group family, a big friend of ours, we're a huge fan. Thank you for joining us today. And Paul brings with him the beginning of summer. And as always, he brings with him many notes.
Many notes. Too many notes.
Just like an Amadeus.
Beginning of summer, kicking off our Pride season, because it is, Pride starts.
Any day now.
Right.
But Paul is the editor-in-chief
Yes, indeed.
of Metrosource magazine. Are you also still doing the what's the newsletter? The
newsletter is Metro Espresso. That's
Metro
weekly.
Espresso,
Yep.
which I love because I get it in my inbox.
You can subscribe to at metrosource.com/subscribe.
I would hardly recommend getting Metro Espresso as well.
Thank you.
Because it's a lot of little fun nuggets.
How come I'm not getting it?
Well, you haven't gone to metrosource.com/subscribe, darling.
I thought I did.
I would hope so. I mean, we could always check with the MailChimp.
So if I go to metrosource.com/subscribe, I'll get both Metrosource.
No, you'll
You
get
just
the
Metro
Metro
Espresso.
Espresso.
The subscription to the actual magazine, we usually just tell people to consume it on the web because there's so much more there now, and we can do so much current stuff.
I mean, you can still pick it up.
Oh yeah, and then it's available in New York and LA, all over bars, restaurants, pharmacies, and then nationally in some of the neighborhoods and some of the bookstores and stuff like that. But anytime you want, you can go to metrosource.com, and we have more video interviews with drag queens than you could ever need.
Then you can shake a stick at.
You had something that I was interested in that you're actually doing through the magazine, through Pride. You said you're doing more than you've ever done.
Yes.
At the magazine. So do you want to describe that a little bit?
Well, in addition to, we'll be at the parade as usual, the march here in New York City. And we've in the past done a little kickoff party or a cocktail do. This year we're doing something called Reclaiming My Pride, which is an art contest where we asked LGBTQIA artists to take that theme, which is, of course, inspired by Maxine Waters' Reclaiming My Time, and interpret the idea of our theme words were community, charity, as part of the proceeds will go to Ali Forney Center, which helps LGBTQ youth. Gosh, the acronyms, I can't.
I know.
And creativity. And we had over 100 artists submit. Right now, a panel of judges are selecting from 10 finalists, and they and one of them will be a grand winner, will be announced at our June 20th event at the top of the world, darling.
Literally.
One World Observatory, who has been a wonderful partner in putting together Reclaiming My Pride. And they'll have their work on display throughout Pride Week there, and it's going to be a fabulous event. So if you want to see the fantastic drawings, sculptures, all sorts of renderings that have been submitted, you can go to metrosource.com/reclaiming my pride. No dashes, no spaces, no mess, no fuss, and check them out. And there you can sign up for our VIP list, and you too can get an invite to join us for a little cocktail on top of the world and some fabulous art for a good cause.
Now, will the art be for sale?
We are not brokering the art, but the individual artists will make that decision on a case-by-case basis.
Now, this is going to be a strange question. Well, it's not a strange question. But when you're planning something like this, were you pleasantly surprised? Were you happy with the amount of submissions? Was it right where you thought it would be?
I mean, you always hope for the world, and you're prepared for... at least you hope there'll be a good representation of a cross-section of the community, and in terms of, racial diversity, male and female. Once we sat down to do the voting, which I didn't realize would be such a complicated process.
Oh, I was going to,
the finalists. I was just I almost lost my breath, metaphorically, at the breadth and scope and creativity on display. People stereotype the gay community as creatives, and we know that there are many gay men who like their football and their beer just like straight men. But trans issues, representation issues, how people in non-representational ways tackled the concept. And a view that I didn't quite get.
So, did you limit the type of submission in terms of it had to be a certain dimension, it had to be a painting, a watercolor, or a drawing, or it had to be like something that was, it couldn't be like digital art that could only be displayed on a monitor?
Yes and no. Yes, and if it was a physical piece, we did put size limitations because...
well, there's display.
We wanted to display, and you're taking things up to the highest building, one of the highest buildings in the world. But if people wanted to submit a sculpture, they can take a picture of the sculpture. If there will be, I think, some digital art displayed as well on monitors. Our hope is to include in the final display more than just the 10 finalists, if we can, just to celebrate how many people took the time to include not just the piece, but also everybody wrote a little sort of mini essay about what Reclaiming My Pride means to them, which was very helpful when things came out looking a little bit of a splatter
and for judging.
And some verticals.
Geographic diversity of the submissions?
We have some people from all over the world.
Wow, okay.
And then we had probably, I think, what would be a good representation of the magazine's readership, so heavily weighted toward New York, but then submissions from all over the United States and some from LA as well.
Well, I'm going to look at this stuff, so you can go look at it online.
Yeah, Metrosource.com/Reclaiming My Pride. There's little representations. I think we have them all up we had that, as tends to happen with a contest with a deadline. We had a nice last-minute rush right at the 11th hour, but I think they're all up now.
Now, this event, the June 20th event at the One World Observatory, that's a Wednesday, I think.
I believe so. Yeah, in the midst of Pride Week.
It's a perfect week. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna put my name in. We'll see if I have any pool.
Well, if it's Wednesday, maybe I'll go.
Well, that's what I was getting at. That's what I was.
Oh, we should have been on the panel to pick art.
I didn't know you had something interested on.
Of course we do.
Paul, congrats on this. I think it's a really great idea, and I think it's a really
the entire team who helped put it together.
And the difficulty, and just before we leave the Reclaiming My Pride, did you have to judge this? So you have 100 submissions.
Mm-hmm.
You can't line them all up.
Right.
You have to kind of subset it. So did you have subsets, and then there were winners in each set that then went to the next round and the next round or something?
Well, rather than, when it came time to vote and we gathered and we kind of put them all up on the big screen in the conference room, and then we had criteria on which we judged each one, including mundane stuff like the rules. Mm-hmm. But really, and this is one of the reasons why when I think about it so visceral, we sat through and we just went through and discussed every single piece, all 104 pieces. It took us the better part of a day. And, we were trying, and it's hard, especially with the early pieces, to know what kind of diversity you'll see down the line. And we had kind of been watching them come in. But we tried to take into account the idea of representing the whole scope of what people had put in. And we did want to see, people of every color. We wanted to see people who were representing the voiceless specifically. And then we wanted people to, have some fabulous pictures of dudes wearing makeup, because who doesn't want that?
One World Observatory, June 20th.
That's enough of that. So this next one you gave us.
Yes.
Now, John, have you ever been to the Cafe Carlyle?
Yes.
I find it, as somebody that doesn't live in Manhattan, but is here a bit, intimidating for me to go there. Because
I saw Bobby Short there.
Because it always seems to have this...
it
always seems to be an intimidating...
I don't know. I thought it was a more intimate 1930s kind of...
So you got to see Kathleen Turner there.
Yes, indeed. I'd say you're both right in the sense that it is a storied room, and it is, first-class service, and it is... You are seated in... They get as many people in to see some of the world's greatest performers.
Yeah, like 50 seats or something. It's not big.
It is. You will be friends with our neighbor. There was a lovely little woman, if I may hazard a guess, Upper East Side, hair done to filth,
if
darling.
You may hazard a guess.
Her pantsuit was crunchy. It was so crisp. And when Kathleen Turner started the political portion of her show, which was, she's testified before Congress, so the woman has it down. This tiny little woman who had introduced herself at the beginning, and I said, it's a pleasure to be joining you. It's so good to be here. She starts going, amen. Amen.
After every time,
every time. Women's rights are under attack. Amen. It was amazing, but it's that kind of confluence of passion. People who come to see someone who want to be close enough to. Say the time I saw Tony Danza kick over a bottle of wine into someone's lap. Or
there's an intimacy you're not going to get in many places.
It almost feels like an invitation to talk back, and people do, or shout amen. In Kathleen's case, you go into it not quite knowing what to expect. When you see Megan Hilty, you expect the songs from Smash and some beautiful standards, and of course it's amazing because it's Megan Hilty. Same with like Kat McPhee, but there are these people who are not necessarily known for singing, Isaac Mizrahi, and you're like, I don't know what I'm walking into.
Yeah.
And then,
And I wouldn't think I didn't associate Kathleen Turner with cabaret act.
Well, she lays it out. She does the whole bit, her whole life. She does not. She sings.
You know what I'm talking about,
does
right?
sing.
She does. She's not Rex
You know what
Harrison.
I'm talking about when I say sing.
Yeah.
Fred Schneider,
B-52s. Her singing voice is as basso profundo as her regular voice. She makes me sound like I'm singing Julie Andrews' Coloratura all day and all night, which I kind of am. And it's extraordinary in the same way that she'll be talking as low as you think anyone could possibly talk, and then for emphasis she'll go
lower.
She has that ability in singing too. If we were like comparing octave to octave, I'm sure she beats me for bass notes. But she also, and I think credit goes to her musical director and the team she worked with, she weaves the songs and the stories together very seamlessly, and she doesn't like go back for the third repeat of the chorus. So she's singing like as much of the song as needs to be sung. She's not like doing the park and bark and like the big held note. She's interested.
Barry Smith on piano.
She's interested in telling the story, and sometimes she'll do that with words, and sometimes she'll drop F-bombs left and right, and I love that. And sometimes she's doing it with song.
So is she there now?
She's there now. She will finish up her run Saturday the 2nd. And then after that, Miss Gina Gershon is coming in, I think, for 2 weeks.
Which I saw that on the notes that you sent, and I'm like, I look at the name, and I'm like, okay, I remember her from Showgirls.
Of course, Bound.
Yeah, and Bound, of course. But in Showgirls, she's Crystal Connors.
Of course.
And I ate doggy chow.
Watch out for those marbles.
Yeah, down the stairs. Someone always gets ahead in Vegas the nasty way, but. She's another one that I don't necessarily associate with cabaret, but I bet it's going to be a very fun show.
Well, it's all about the story. The title of hers is going to be Wild Women Don't Get the Blues. So I think that'll give you some sense of it. But I think with everyone I've ever seen at the Carlyle, singers and less known for singing alike, there is, I think, always this weird illusion that you've come to their living room. And they're like, darling,
welcome.
Have a drink.
Welcome.
Do some songs.
What's a ticket cost on average, a range? Is it $30, $100?
I believe we're in the $100 range for the ticket, and then I think you have to buy dinner on top of that.
Okay.
So
it's a big night out.
It's a big night out, and it's totally worth putting on your to-do list. I would say either go to the Carlyle's website, or you can search for the Carlyle on TicketWeb and find someone you really want to see. Find someone who it would be thrilled to be that close to, and then have the meal of your life. The cocktails are large.
Well, my impression is you get what you pay for. You're going to pay for it, but you're also going to get
enjoy it.
Yeah, it's
and don't be surprised to don't be afraid to take a risk on someone
that you might
not expect, because sometimes those are the best.
That's a great piece of advice. Now, the next set of stuff you have here as we move into summer, away from nasty old May, although today it feels like July.
Today I feel like I've been sitting in the sauna.
Yeah, it's like a terrarium. It's like it goes from dry, cold, wet to the sauna. You have your title here is the TV set.
The TV set, darling.
And I will say that there's a couple of interesting things on here. So for one, are you an Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt fan?
No.
But
I don't know why.
I'm cut to the quick.
Well, shows stick and they don't. You know,
what is it on? What network?
It's Netflix,
if I could be so naive.
and they generally will drop all at once. So if you like a good binge, as do I, and of course, since you've never seen it, you have multiple seasons to binge. But this one, they're actually going to do the first half of the season, and then the next half a little later.
What's
in the year.
premise of the story? What's the big
moves
arc?
to New York.
There's a woman who has been trapped by a sham preacher in
That's her,
a
Kimmy
sort of
Schmidt,
mole bunker.
Yeah.
And that's, John Hamm is the charismatic preacher. And they'll flash back to it. And she was trapped with these women who then, when they are released, first of all, what's amazing is in the opening sequence, they're released, and you see, like, the media coming and interviewing the guy whose trailer is near the bunker, and he's like, they're alive, damn it, it's a miracle. And then it cuts to the remix of it, and it's like one of those songified, the news is unbreakable, they're alive, damn it, it's a miracle. And it's so hilarious from the first moment. And Titus Burgess, who plays a character kind of loosely based on a version of himself if he was not so successful and fabulous, is like a gay miracle. Like, he just keeps on happening.
So she's culturally, because she's been trapped with this, the fundamentalists or the preacher, it's kind of like she's lived in a time capsule. Yeah. And so when she emerges, the whole world is just a different, and she's so naive, and she plays the role of being like completely like, oh my God, it's a car.
You watched it?
Yeah. And
would I like it, you two knowing me?
I think it's impossible not to like it.
She's infectious in her inhabitation of the role, but I want to say she becomes the assistant for.
She becomes Jane Krakowski's
assistant.
So you've got that fabulous old white lady glamour, and then
30 Rock Jane
later,
Krakowski, who's just totally
Amy Sedaris plays her best friend, which, like, I mean, I've written a letter to God, and he sent me the Amy Sedaris.
Fandango.
And then also. Of course, I'm forgetting, and I was just singing with her at Monster the other night. Anna Camp plays her arch nemesis in later seasons, and she's to die for. And then Carol Kane of Taxi and Princess Bride plays the kind of hard-bitten old landlord that, like, looks after them.
Yes, that's right. Because
there's something for everybody.
And she falls into these things, like she falls into this apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And the landlord and Titus is one of the tenants.
He becomes her, like, de facto roommate.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to watch it. I'm looking for something.
This next one is I am definitely putting on my list because I love his music, and it's a documentary.
And what's interesting about this, I haven't seen this one yet. It's been on my radar. I think when someone passes, there is this general tendency, especially since this person who we're talking about is George Michael, not to bury the lead, died, and then Christmas happened, and he had the Christmas song, so you play the Christmas song, and everything kind of like, let's focus on the happy memories. And this kind of, I think, is meant to take a look at what led to his passing ultimately, the year. It's called George Michael's Lonely Life, and it's on Reels. And, I think so much of what he did was brave and exciting, and, he rolled with the punches, and when he first got arrested for some of the sexual exploits. He went ahead and put that right in a music video. And he was wonderfully ball-busting in that way. But also, those are signs of a person who is maybe not dealing with the worst that life has.
Well, but the arc of his career, though, is the arc of a lot of gay stuff. Mm-hmm. Because he became really popular in the late 80s, early mid-90s. Wham. So was he gay? Was he not? That was a time when a performer could not be, I suppose.
Right, and there was all the winking and the
yeah. So there's a lot, and that's by the time Outside was when he got arrested for the indecent. Or decent.
His fellowship in the bathroom.
Look at it.
His fellowship
in the bathroom.
Celebrating community.
Which is an hysterical video, by the way, when you watch it. So I'm sure that fueled a great deal of the conflicts that he had. But, a lot of performers probably have. I think it's a very fascinating thing. I'll just let it.
Have you ever seen the MTV 1996 Unplugged sessions? If you do yourself a favor today, it'll be the best thing you watch on YouTube other than the focus group today. But the MTV 1996 Unplugged versions of him, he's sitting with a choir and it's somewhat acoustic, but there is some accompaniment. The songs and arrangements is so beautiful and it's so well done, and they do almost, there must be 15 songs, but it's great if you want to watch something fun or add it to a playlist. It's a good thing to watch.
And he's a great songwriter too, so his songs hold up in that.
Yeah, no, this next one, so that was on Reels, and it's called George Michael's Lonely Life. It's June 2nd. It comes out, and I've seen ads for this, and here's what I'll say: it's a show by Ryan Murphy, and I keep thinking of two things: Paris is Burning and Strictly Ballroom.
Of course.
But more Paris is Burning.
Well, and the funny thing is, I think what it'll turn out to be is Strictly Ballroom or, any of the later attempts at doing drama and music together in a post-cop rock fashion with the flavor of Paris is Burning, because it's set in the 1980s ballroom
scene.
It
is set in the 80s. We were wondering about
100% there. I don't know if it's all in New York or if it will branch out.
By the way, the show is called Pose.
It's called Pose. You've probably been seeing the wonderful Technicolor advertisements and people voguing, and it's all very fantastic. And shows like RuPaul's Drag Race and stuff are keeping that alive in the lexicon. But unless you've seen Paris is Burning, and even Paris is Burning is such a specific group of queens. Mm-hmm. I was actually at Town Hall just the other night. They were doing a screening of a film called, I believe, The Queen or Queen, which is about a drag pageant they held at Town Hall 50 years ago.
Wow.
What a hoot of a night, because they had live
50
performances,
years ago. Okay.
And they screened the film, and then there were more live performances by the likes of Justin Vivian Bond and some really fantastic drag artists and kind of like gender-bending artists. But there's this whole vocabulary of people who were around during that time, and people who have survived traditions that have survived. The House of LaBeija is still turning out fabulous performers.
I think of Malcolm McLaren.
LaBeija. So listen, we're going to take a quick break.
Alrighty.
And you're staying.
And you're going to stay, but we got a couple things because, time's a thief. So your challenge while we take our quick break is we've got film and books. You get to pick one out of each category. And then we're going to have you taste the new Oreo flavors with us and see what you like. But so we got to get through it.
I'm going to take a guess. We'll go to break.
We're with Paul Hagen here, editor-in-chief of Metrosource magazine. When we come back, we're going to talk film and books and taste Oreos. Stay with us.
Brought to you by Volkswagen. Visit VW.com to learn more. Focus on the savvy side of 9 to 5 with the Focus Group.
Been in business a week. I got more money and I know what to do with.
Listen, laugh, and learn with Tim and John.
Herrera Rocher. He is doing well.
Welcome back to the Focus Group. John Nash with my good friend and co-host Tim Bennett. FocusGroupRadio.com has all the information you'll need. We were given some DVDs and a Blu-ray away earlier. Bloop, rewind and find out. And to my right, And it's to my right, whether you're well, actually no, but it doesn't matter. It's Paul Hagen.
You're right.
To the left.
To your point.
Joining us
on the Paul Hagen. Paul's challenge
Chiming in.
is to choose from his voluminous and wonderful notes one film and one book.
Oh, it's hard. So film, I have not seen any of these films, so these films come to courtesy of our wonderful film reviewer, Jonathan Roach. And I thought I would do Hearts Beat Loud, which is a beautiful sort of coming-of-age piece. Nick Offerman, also known as Mr. Megan Mullally, also known as
Mr. Parks and Recreation,
and a fantastic author. His books are great, and speaking of books, which we'll get to, his audiobooks are tremendous.
He narrates his audiobooks?
He does.
Anyway, but the film is Hearts Beat Loud.
And he has a daughter. He owns a sort of funky record store. It's a little down on its luck. And he is in some financial straits. And at the same time, he's also raising this daughter who's about to go off to college. She is discovering her blossoming lesbian sexuality. And they are both musically inclined. And they record a song that very surprisingly goes viral on Spotify. And, like, there's this, like, does this mean we have to do this instead of college? Does this mean that we can save the record store?
Or as you say in your notes, it may change the course of both their destinies.
Indeed. I have to go into writing log lines for the film.
So will this be at any regular theater?
I would imagine this is like a medium-sized release to start. I think the small release came out early in the month, and then I think based on box office numbers, they'll see if it's worth pushing large. I think when I looked it up, it's at like the IFC.
Okay. Like an art house.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you picked that one. I would have picked that one too.
Oh, okay.
I'll pick Mr. Offerman any day. Did you see him on Will and Grace? Charles.
All right. Now, books. What are you gonna say for books?
So okay, I have literally on this list 2 books that just came out this week, and I think one like last week, and one that dropped like yesterday, and I'm already halfway through it. But I'm not going to talk about either of those because after I saw the film Call Me by Your Name, I, like most people, immediately had sex. And then I said, I'm going to read the book. I have to see the book because I had, there's all this swirling around that now there's going to be a sequel and there's more to the book than you see in the movie. And also, a lot of people said that the book is both the events of the movie and yet completely different. And I said, all right, well, I'll put it on my wish list and I'll get around to it. And most audiobooks I drive through like a train off the rails. Speeding train? Anyway, I'm a train.
I'd go speeding because it's on the rails, no one's dying. Yeah, and it's moving.
So... this one, like, I specifically savored it. I waited for quiet moments when I could really hear it and listen to it because the story unfolds through Elio's internal monologue. So all of those moments in the film, if you're not familiar with the film, go watch it and then have sex. And Elio and Oliver. Elio is the daughter, the son, the beautiful nubile son of an academic who hosts a younger academic each summer in their house in Italy. And I believe it's Italy. It's so multilingual.
Yeah.
They're French, but they live in Italy in the summers. Anyway, it's this sort of burgeoning love-hate story. Elio wants Oliver but resents his American aloofness, and it's the intensity of the growing attraction between them is so incredible in the film as told through silences and like a casual touch and these kind of moments where he'd sneak into Oliver's bedroom and
cat and mouse
moment alone. Yeah.
Well, the fun of the intensity of a relationship that is in some ways not meant to be because it's older, younger, but there's also it's charged, right?
It's so charged and so great. And in the book, I would say charged even more so in a different way. In the film, a lot of it is about what's not said. In the book, it's said like profoundly and deeply and poetically, and what in the movie might be a scene where he kind of like gently like holds a piece of his clothing or his sheets. In the book, he's sort of like an ode on Oliver's sheets, and you do get more than what's in
the movie.
The movie. You see them many years later. Every time they see each other in the course of their lives, following the events in the movie, and the resentment and the what could have been and the different choices they make and how they kind of keep getting drawn
a little
together.
like Brokeback Mountain.
It's like Brokeback Mountain, the academic version. If you want Brokeback Mountain, though, see God's Own Country. Oh, my gosh. And then have sex. It's so good. But what's great about, in particular, Call Me By Your Name, the audiobook is one Mr. Armie Hammer does the reading, and it is phenomenal to listen to him.
He's a good reader.
He's not only a great reader, but when he's speaking Elio's internal monologue, he takes on a bit of that softness and youth that you see in that character of Elio. But then when he's speaking as Oliver, the part he played in the film, he snaps right back into that crisp American. kind of like, ew. And it's so amazing to see him embody both. He's essentially doing a love story with himself. No, that kind of,
All right.
It's amazing. It's
all right. And so that's Call Me By Your Name. Yes. And you would recommend that book or audiobook? And an audiobook in particular because Armie Hammer, his reading of it is so nuanced and he does the role so great. Okay. Now, taste test time.
I wouldn't have picked that one. Yeah. I would have picked the other two. Hey, listen, so very quickly, there was... You'll have to get on our Facebook page and share the other two books.
I will do that.
So the Oreos had done a contest last year about they wanted all the fans of the new flavored cookies to send in submissions. And so these are the top two of the three that won, that people have until June 30th to vote as to which one, and then it will be an actual flavor.
You gave our booth,
there's
booth crew
there's kettle corn, there's pina colada, and there was also a cherry cola, which I could not find. It might be at Walmart.
I'm already predisposed to like only one of these, by the way.
So you are. So I have not tried these.
These are kettle corn.
So this is the kettle corn. Now, they said the one thing that they love about kettle corn is it smells like you're at the fair.
Oh, my God.
Ooh, it does smell.
It does indeed.
Now, these cookies are all vegan. They're now available in all stores.
The kettle corn's vegan?
They're all vegan. All the cookies you're trying today are vegan.
Wow.
They encourage people to submit the ideas for the next flavor. Some that got turned down was avocado. Doesn't that sound horrible? An avocado cookie?
It depends. I've had avocado ice cream.
Really?
Mm-hmm. There's all sorts of things. You've had olive oil ice cream.
Yeah, I guess so. They said the cherry one is chocolate cookie, half vanilla, half cherry flavored filling, and infused with cherry cola pop candy. The kettle corn has tiny pieces of puffed millet replicating the texture of kettle corn. And
sounds so tasty.
People seem to think that that one is the favorite. And the pina colada, what people said they liked is they thought it was authentic, juicy, and thank God the coconut didn't taste like suntan lotion.
I think of myself as authentic and juicy.
So, guys, Garrett and John, have you sampled? And did Allie sample?
Yep. I really like the kettle corn.
Yeah, I'm really big with the kettle. I'm surprised by pina colada.
I don't like it as much, but I love the thin cookie.
Agreed. Now, Garrett's an Oreo expert because he prefers birthday cake Oreos.
It's an Oreotologist.
Oreo. It's an Oreotologist.
I love it. Yeah.
What do you think?
I like the kettle corn. I'm not a big fan of the thin cookie. You hardly get any taste of the cream in the middle.
He is right.
Does it only come thin with pina colada?
I think so.
Oh, well, it says thin, but I don't know if that means they're only
That's
going
all they had at the store.
But it's not bad. There were worse ones last year, if I remember right.
Oh.
Yeah. I'd be curious. See, I wanted to like the cherry cola. What did you What did you think, Paul, of these two?
First of all, I fear the cherry cola because I used to have Bonnie Bell lip smackers in cherry cola, and I do not want that to be in something I swallow. The kettle corn is fairly authentic to the taste of kettle corn. It has that sort of sweet saltiness. I don't know what the millet is doing, but okay. With pina colada, you always worry that it's going to be foul, and it is not foul.
No.
But it's not like blowing my mind.
But Tim, it doesn't say vegan anywhere on here.
They are. It's not going to say vegan on there.
But they are. They're sourced as. That's a selling.
Reinvented flavors are all vegan. They're now available in all stores. All three submitted. So it's creams. They're not. It's creams.
Got it. Okay.
CREME.
I'm with the booth though. The kettle corn is my
kettle corn. I think was good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kettle corn.
Kettle corn. If we find the cherry cola one, we'll bring it in. I don't want to. We always like to say time's a thief, so we appreciate you coming in, Paul. But you're also doing. You got. I'll do like they do on Morning Joe. You got 30 seconds to tell us about 31 plays in 31 days.
31 plays in 31 days. This will be my 7th year doing it, so I'll have written 217 one-page or so plays in the last 7 years. That will be. You can find it on my blog. I'll post them as they do. That'll be coming up in August. And if you feel like doing some writing, come on over to Metrosource.com and share your experience with us on our Gay Voices section, where we seek to represent every stripe of the rainbow, and just tell us what it's like to be an LGBTQ person in the skin you're in.
So be sure to tag us on your
most certainly
do the advertisement for that, or when you.
And it will also keep our eyes peeled for the June 20th Reclaiming My Pride.
Yes.
And you could go to Metrosource.com to check out the entries and
maybe get an invite if you sign up for the VIP list there.
Oh, star.
Sure.
Thank you, Paul, as always, for joining us. You
Yes.
brought so many great things, and we love seeing you. And thanks for kicking off our Pride season, as John calls it, Gay Christmas.
It's not June yet.
You can do it.
Happy Pride.
Thanks to our friends at Deep Discount, as well as Olive Films, who provided the giveaway this week of cold turkey. So as John says, rewind the tape or listen again and find out how to enter the contest to win one of 6 of the cold turkey DVDs, which is a new DVDs or Blu-ray.
Blu-rays, yeah.
Thanks to our friends at Volkswagen. Be sure to visit VW.com to learn more about the brand and all the great cars that are coming up. John and I will soon be doing a special about all the electric vehicles that are coming in the very near future from Volkswagen, so stay tuned for that. Thanks to the boys in the booth and Allie, John and Garrett and Allie. We want to thank you guys, and everyone have a great week. See us on next
Pride.
I was going to say, I always get in trouble. On Tuesday, it's TFG Unbuttoned.
Oh, I know. There's a whole thing about that.
No text and drive, arrive alive.
There we go.
We always end unbuttoned by
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Formerly on SiriusXM Satellite Radio and now accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.
That was a stunning focus group.